Hey guys, this is Derek with Tap and Turn Gaming. I'm coming at you today with another EDH deck tech, part of our Battling with a Budget series. So we take viewer submissions for generals they would like to see redone to a budget of $50 or less. And this is a really attainable budget for most people, and it's really makes the deck easier to acquire for people and more fun because they know that they can afford it, and that's always nice. So today's deck, as you can see by the title, is Rafiq of the Many for less than $50. This was submitted as a general by John Hudson, so this is the deck he was looking for, was Rafiq of the Many. So we're going to go ahead and look at the deck card by card and take a quick overview of it. So obviously the general is Rafiq of the Many. He's a 4-cost 3/3 human knight with Exalted, so if any creature you control attacks alone, it gets a +1/+1 until end of turn. So that's really cool. And whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until end of turn, which is powerful because that means Rafiq will attack alone. He'll go from a 3/3 to a 4/4 and hit for 8. So you have a general that's hitting for 8. So if he attacks alone, unequipped, and just lonely by himself, he's a 3-shot clock. And that is a big deal. That's what makes most generals into tier 1 or tier 2, is being able to 3-shot or 2-shot. So now we'll just take out the rest of the cards. Start with the land. We have Azura's Chancery, Azura's Guildgate, Blossoming Sands, Cathedral of War, Forest ×8, Hellamar Depths, Island ×8, Mosswort Bridge, Plains ×9, Selesnya Guildgate, Selesnya Sanctuary, Simic Growth Chamber, Simic Guildgate, Thornwood Falls, and Tranquil Cove. Well, when budgetizing the deck, one thing I want to mention is you'll save a lot of money by budgetizing your lands first. Ravnica Shocks and Lorwyn Filters, those things all cost anywhere from $10 to $20. Fetch lands cost, $20 to $50 depending on the land. Original dual lands cost $50 to $100 depending on the land and the set. So, the most expensive land I have in here, $1.48 for the Cathedral of War, I believe it is. Actually, it says Simic Growth Chamber is $1.55. I find that hard to believe. But point being is that, my entire land base probably comes in at $6. And that's the price of, one chalk land. So you can save a lot of money by budgetizing your lands first. And then you can spend money on the more splashy spells and the more powerful spells by budgetizing your lands first and being able to save money for something like, a Sapphire starter that costs a couple bucks. So we'll take a look at the enchantments now. We have Dictative Heliod and Finest Hour. Dictative Heliod's nice because you can attack with Rafiq. He's a 3/3, becomes a 4/4. You flash in Dictative Heliod, and now he's a 6/6. So if he hits alone, he's hitting for 12, and that becomes a 2-shot clock. And that is a whole different game when now you've just put someone to the 1-shot range after hitting them. And that's a serious thing. Then we have Finest Hour, and this had to go in the deck regardless of price. Even though it only comes in at about $2, it's a 5-cost enchantment. It has Exalted itself, and whenever a creature you control attacks alone, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap that creature. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So this will turn Rafiq into a 1-turn clock, because what will happen is he's a 3/3. So you cast him turn 4 for 3. Turn 5, you cast Finest Hour. Now you attack with Rafiq. He gets his Exalted trigger, and he gets the Exalted trigger from the Finest Hour. So now he's a 5/5. So he attacks, because he attacked alone, he gets the double strike. So now he's hitting for 10. Now, because he hit for 10 and he was the only creature that attacked, you can get that secondary combat phase. So you untap him, now you attack again. And now what happens is it triggers Exalted again. So he goes from a 5/5 to a 6/6 from his Exalted, and to a 7/7 from the Finest Hour's Exalted. And now he's going to hit for 14 off the double strike. So now you've just hit the opponent for 24 in 1 turn. You can do that turn 5 much sooner with mana rocks, but that makes him very potent, because with these 2 cards down, that's a 1-shot clock. And a 1-shot clock is no joke by any means, because the opponent's just dead. And that's just how it goes. So that's very cool. I'll take a look at the sorceries. We have Cultivate for the ramp, Day of Judgment for the sweep, Distortion Strike because it's unblockable, so you cast this on Rafiq. He gets a +1/+0 and unblockable. So now he's at 4/3, you attack, he gets the Exalted, he becomes a 5/4. With the double strike, he's hitting for 10, and it rebounds. So it's going to do the same thing next turn, he's going to hit for another 10, So that leaves them with 1 commander damage left if you don't, have any other Exalted trigger down. So this is also a very powerful spell for 1 blue mana. End hostilities for the sweep. Explosive vegetation for the ramp. Kirtar's Wrath for the sweep. Kodama's Reach for the ramp. Recollect, Regrowth, Route, and Wargate. Wargate's a very, very, very nice spell. Being able to search a library for any permanent with their cost extra less and put it onto the battlefield. That lets you get your finest hour if you don't have it, or it lets you get some of your more powerful artifacts and creatures if you don't have it, and that's a very, very, very powerful spell. Especially with the amount of mana rocks this deck has and the amount of ramp it has, you can really get that thing big quickly. But that about wraps up our sorceries. You'll see we actually still were able to run some sweepers. Day of Judgment, End Hostilities, Kirtar's Wrath, and Route. They come in at about $5 altogether. So being able to still run 4 sweepers and only take up $5 of your budget is pretty cool. Now we'll take a look at the instance. We have Condemn, Devouring Light, Dispatch, Ghostly Flicker, Momentary Blink, Otherworldly Journey, and Reality Shift. The point of all these was either to remove a blocker or to save one of your creatures. So that's why it's a lot of the blinks and a lot of the removal. And that was the idea. Either blink it or kill it. And, save Rafiq or move something out of the way. And that you'll see what a lot of the cards in this deck will actually do. But next up we're going to go over the artifacts. We run Argentum Armor because it gives Rafiq a +6/+6, and whenever their creature attacks, you destroy a permanent. And that is huge. You put this on Rafiq and attack alone, he's hitting for 10 damage because of his Exalted on the +6/+6, and he gets double strike, so he's hitting for 20. And that, that another one of those things that puts him almost into a one-shot clock, and it's scary. Then we have the Azura's Cluestone, Azura's Keyrune, Azura's Signet for the ramp. Civic Saber, because if you put that on Rafiq, he gets a +3/+0. Dangerous. Conjurer's Closet, we have a lot of Enter the Battlefield abilities on our creatures, and this will help us get a lot of value out of that. Then we run Dramoka Monument. We also run the other 2 monuments in the color, but we'll see those in just a moment. Grafted Exoskeleton, if you put this on Rafiq, he is a one-shot clock, because he will get +2/+2 in Infect. So he's going to be a 5/5 base +1 for his Exalted trigger, so he's attacking for 6. With the double strike, he'll just kill anyone, and that's how it's going to be. That's another one-shot clock. So you already have 2 ways in the deck to one-shot your opponent, and that is a big, big deal. Then we have Hero's Blade, because you can attach it to him automatically when he comes in, which will make him also attack for 7 when he attacks alone, and that's a huge deal. Moonsilver Spear, O Naginata, Obelisk of Bant, Ojutai Monument, Selesnya Keyrune, Signet, and Cluestone, Simic Keyrune, Signet, and Cluestone, Spear of Heliod, Trailblazer's Boots, Whisper Silk Cloak. Whisper Silk Cloak will help him get through. Trailblazer's Boots will basically make him unblockable, because who doesn't run a non-basic in their EDH decks? Spear of Heliod is nice because you can play this turn 3, and your creatures get the +1/+1, and then you play Rafiq turn 4, and now he's a 4/4. When he attacks, he becomes a 5/5. Then you put down Argentum Armor, and that is a one-shot clock now. Or if you put down the, the Distortion Strike, he is a one-shot clock. So we have a couple of different ways to one-shot the opponent, and that is a huge, huge deal. So lastly, we have the creatures. We'll go over the creatures now. We start with Acidic Slime, Aegis Angel, Clone, Deadeye Navigator, Derevi Imperial Tactician, Eternal Witness, Indrik Stomphowler, Karmic Guide, Knight of New Alara, Luminate Primordial, Mercurial Pretender, Mirror Sigil Sergeant, Mist Meadow Witch, Mold Drifter, Prime Speaker Zagana, Reclamation Sage, Rune of the Hidden Realms, Rubina Soulsinger, Safi Eric's Daughter, and Terastodon. So as you can see, looking at most of these creatures, they're either going to blow something up, they're going to move something out of the way, or they're going to give us some sort of value like a draw or something like that. And that's really the idea we want. We want this to be a 1 to 2 shot deck. A real all-star on the deck is the Knight of New Alara. You play him, and now Rafiq is a 5/5. When he gets his Exalted trigger, he's a 6/6. And that is a huge, huge deal. That really, really is. It's really pretty cool. And the cool thing about Wargate, I believe, I'm almost positive that with Wargate you can search for a land. Because you can search your library for a permanent card with converted mana cost X or less. Lands have no mana cost, so it is less than X. I suppose. And I believe you just go and search for your Cathedral of War to give more exalted triggers, and that's a pretty cool thing you can do to, you know, if you already have your finest hour and you want to get your Cathedral of War down, you can do that. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, you can correct me, but I think that's the way it works. But a couple of other things is we'll take a look at the mana base. As you can see, it's the spread of colors is pretty even. You know, it really is. And pretty good amount of blue, pretty good amount of white and green. It's pretty evenly spread out. As far as the type of cards in the deck, it's predominantly artifact, creatures, and lands, with the rest making up a very small amount. The converted mana cost comes in at a 3.58. So that's a pretty good command, converted mana cost. Whereas the General himself costs 4. So you can really just check out the deck and get your stuff down pretty quick, be aggressive, and that's pretty fun. Being able to be aggressive with a general that needs to be aggressive is really good. But that's the overall deck. Let me know what you think. This is just a nice way to get a deck out, because who doesn't have $50 they could blow on a deck? I mean, some people spend more than that on single cards. So being able to spend $50 on a deck is probably not that big a deal. Again, this is Derek with Tap and Turn Gaming. This is Rafiq of the Many for under $50, submitted by John Hudson, or requested by John Hudson rather. So let us know what you think. If you have any other good budget ideas that would fit in the deck well and really help it along. I think one thing I just thought of as I'm recording this is Aether Snipe. Aether Snipe is really good to be able to bounce a permanent. But yeah, let me know what you think. Again, Derek with Tap and Turn Gaming, Rafiq of the Many under 50, battling with a budget and such. So yeah, we will catch you later, and check out the rest of our videos. Thanks a lot.